We are now about to review the third season of Attack on Titan. And of course, if you've not seen the review over the first or second season, I would recommend you doing so. I mean, you know, just watch it in order, it just makes sense. But for real, this season is split into two different parts. The first part I'll label the internal crisis within the walls, and the second part is to go outside and reclaim a lost wall. So if you enjoy seeing these reviews, go ahead and show some love to this video. I greatly appreciate it, and let's go ahead and jump into the review for the third season. As I mentioned before, the first part of Season 3 is basically an internal crisis. As you know, there are different regiments a part of Attack on Titan. While it is true that we follow the Scouts as our main regiment, it doesn't mean that there's not others. And the people I'm pointing towards are the ones that are supposed to take care of citizens inside the wall. You could say that the military police is pretty stuck up and also corrupted. There are some secrets that happen within the walls that people don't want to tell others. The first one being is, should we have Eren walking around freely? While it is true that he is sectioned off with Levi to make sure he doesn't do anything bad, people within the wall still got caught up in the crossfire between Annie and Eren. I mean, this caused a lot of other people that are regular citizens to die. So why would they want Eren Yeager walking around freely, especially because you think the Scouts could be a part of it? You know, they think that there's a plan to kill people inside the walls at which you live in, you know, just military police crap. Besides that, there's also other secrets with the king. The king and the committee aren't really good people themselves, so everyone that works with him are really in it for their own personal gain. So they believe the best way to protect your people is to not expand, but instead to keep everyone sanctioned inside the wall. You know that saying, the richer get richer, the poorer get poorer? That's basically what they believe in. And well, they also believe the best way to fix things is to get rid of the Scouts, and they will get people that can do so. Early within the episode, we're shown that people are trying to kidnap Historia and Eren. Again, Eren makes a lot of sense. He is a Titan after all. On the other hand, why would they want Historia? Well, we find out in Season 2 that she is not who she once portrayed herself to be. Now that we find out that she is royalty, then maybe they have another plan for her. While these people are doing their best to capture Eren and Historia, our Scouts are a little bit smarter than they are. They first use Armin and Jean as a decoy to dress up as the other two. Now Jean, I can see that he kinda looks like Eren, but man, unfortunately Armin is too close to Historia. And unfortunately for him, he gets a little bit more than he was expecting. But I mean, you know, at least it's not Historia, right? Anyway, this whole shebang leads into the introduction for our next group. The leader of this antagonist group is Kenny the Ripper, and basically this whole group follows the order of Reiss. Now their motives are very questionable as to why they just follow Reiss's orders, and while we'll see later on that Kenny the Reaper is more forced to by his genes, the others seem to be just slaves and they're willing to kill another person if they have to. And for our heroes, for the time being, they have to shift their killing towards Titans instead to people. And I love to give our heroes the credit because it's hard to do when they're supposed to be on your side. We see many of our protagonists struggle to have to kill someone else that is a human. But you see, if you can't kill them, then they're for sure willing to kill you. It's quite unfortunate, honestly, but we do get a good fight scene with Kenny and Levi. Now to give you an overview of what the story is here, the traitors are supposed to be the Scouts. And because the military police is basically able to call orders, the Scouts are ordered to be, well, killed. And they decide to start off with the leader as well as the easiest target, Erwin. Now Erwin for sure is smarter than a lot of these other characters, so he doesn't choose to fight and run away. But he also has to put his faith within Hanji and Levi themselves. And in the meantime, don't forget that Historia and Eren got kidnapped. Speaking of Historia, we should probably talk about her family dynamic. Amongst the easy kidnapping that happened, we find out that Historia did have a father at some point. And when I say at some point, it seems that the father knew that she did exist. Historia had a sad life because she never got the affection she wanted from her mother. Matter of fact, we see that her mother was pretty cruel to her when she was a child. But while the mother did not like Historia, it seems that Reiss did not like the mother, even willing to watch her die by Kenny's hands. And he was very close to having Historia killed off too until he made another plan to keep her alive. But the reason as to why doesn't come until a little bit later on. But that tells us as a viewer that this was her life before she joined the Scouts. Now jumping back to end time events, we're now presented the reason why they needed to capture Eren and Historia. Now when it comes to Historia, that is Reiss's daughter, and of course she has his genes. On the other hand, we're shown a flashback that we never got to see before. Once Reiss was able to touch Eren, he got a flashback in his mind of what happened in a previous time. During that time, we're shown Aaron's father Grisha, who was talking to Rod Reiss's family. It seems that he was pleading for some type of bargain of what he wanted. However, because he didn't get his way, he then turned into a Titan. And as you can see, by doing it the same way Aaron does, if he's able to slash himself, he can turn into a Titan. And once he turns into a Titan, we see another character do the same thing. Now, since we'll be talking about this character later on, for reference, this character is named Frida. Frida turns into a Titan herself, and she ends up fighting Aaron's father. But you know, look at the difference of their Titans. Well, she loses. However, Grisha's Titan, which is Aaron's father, doesn't just kill her Titan. He purposely chooses to bite around the nape of the Titan's neck. After doing so, he chooses to go for the rest of the family and kill them off too. After this whole situation, the only survivor from the family is Rod Reiss himself. Now again, this is all presented to us for the first time as a viewer, but also Aaron himself. Aaron also gets another flashback where he sees him talking to his father and turned into a Titan. Once he's turned into that said Titan, he ends up eating his own father and he's left with a key. This is also another important moment for later on. So it makes sense as to why Rod Reiss is big buddy mad. However, he can't be mad at Grisha himself. So he decides to be mad at Grisha's son Aaron instead. But it's not just him being mad, because he had to have Historia here for a reason. We find out that Rod Reiss has a serum, and if you inject yourself with it, you'll turn into a Titan. But he did not only ask his daughter to turn into a Titan, he instead wants her to eat Aaron. Now let's be serious, it's not out of just pure spite, we know that. But the reason as to why they specifically need Aaron to be eaten is told later on. At the same time, we also have the rest of our heroes trying to help Aaron the best they can. Once they get the information as to where they are, they make a plan to jump in and kill the other people around them. We don't have to talk about this portion too much because they won at the end of the day, but we can for sure say that it wasn't the easiest thing to do. Moving right along, we now get to the point where Historia is about to have her big moment. When she realizes that her dad is basically using her to become a Titan, she gives him that MMA. No serum for her, go save Aaron, she's her own woman, she can do what she can do. And in the meantime, Aaron's not feeling as enthusiastic as her because he now knows the truth. Once the rest of the squad gets there, it's now time for Rod Reiss to do his final plan. Since the serum was now broken on the floor, he can't inject it to his own body. So he decides to lick it off the floor. And as gross as that may be, he for sure turns into a Titan, but it's much bigger than we expect. Since Rod's Titan is so huge, it starts to knock down the cave they're inside. And now it's time for Aaron to stop being a baby and help his team for once. At this moment, he's now able to crystallize his Titan body that can protect him from harm. And after this, the final goal is to stop Rod Reiss. Rod Reiss's Titan is so large it's not able to stand by itself. So instead, the Titan chooses to crawl with his face and belly hitting the floor. And also, the Titan isn't abnormal because it's specifically going towards the walls. Once our heroic scouts get out, they're able to travel back to the walls and make a plan to stop Rod Reiss's Titan. And honestly, this whole moment here is very similar to the start of Attack on Titan. You know, when Berto's Titan shows up and peers over the wall. The difference is Rod Reiss's Titan is way too big to actually be stopped easily. So instead, they use their brains to try to explode the neck of Rod Reiss's Titan. Forget the rest of the body, that's not going to happen. However, if you're able to explode the neck, you can probably find where he is inside the Titan. So the next play is to use Aaron's Titan to put explosives inside his mouth. Crazy sentence, I know. But after that, the rest of the cadets have to do their best to try to find where Rod Reiss's body is. There's all kinds of chunks of meat flying everywhere, so he has to be somewhere. And it just so happens the person who finds where he is Historia herself. It's honestly bittersweet because it's ending the person that's caused so much harm. If you think about it, at the end of the day, Rod Reiss's decisions have really changed Historia's life. She wasn't even going by her real name because of him. So now the creepy stuff he was doing, making new children that have royal blood, is now done. And also that royal blood part is going to be important later on, but we'll talk about it then. Also, after this whole incident, we should mention Kenny. You see, Kenny the Ripper is now on his last leg because of the transformations that happened in the cave. Levi finds him basically on his last leg and he has to tell him the truth. There's a couple of important things that will matter later on that I need to explain now. The first being that Kenny is Levi's uncle and they're also Ackerman. Ackermans have a curse where they're supposed to follow the orders of their host. There's someone as an Ackerman that you're supposed to follow as a king per se. And if you don't follow that person's orders, then you start to have really bad headache. You'll have to sit down and think about who is an Ackerman and who has these issues coming up. The next part comes from the serum. Kenny gives Levi another syringe that has a serum within it. If someone is stabbed with the serum, they will become a mindless Titan. And he also tells tells him if you devour someone with a special power, they will become normal again, but also a Titan shifter. So that wraps up the first part of Season 3. Kenny is now gone, they now know more information about Titans, Reiss is also gone, and Historia is now queen. Now I would argue that this is one of the most boring parts of Attack on Titan, but for sure the most informational part. And now we're going to lead into part 2 of Season 3. So if you need a break, any snacks, anything like that, I suggest pausing this video and taking that now because we have a whole other half. Now then, continuing on, we now know that Historia is rightfully in her spot as queen. The old guy that was in seat before is now out because he is dead. Well, he was dead, but that really doesn't matter. The scouts' first job is to go back and reclaim Wall Maria. They're fairly sure the enemies will be there because not only Titans are now around the area, but also the people that took it, which is Reiner and Bertolt, you don't know where they could be hiding. This is very close to a suicide mission, but also is a good thing for civilization. If you're able to reclaim that wall, you now have more room for civilization to live. And this part is one of the best parts of Attack on Titan. Once the scouts get there, they're split into multiple groups. The first group will work on sealing the hole as soon as possible, and the second group works on keeping Scout to make sure nobody gets a sneak attack on them. But as we all know, Armin is one of the smartest characters amongst this whole cast, and he notices some utensils that still seem to be hot and left a mark, meaning that there is someone that was recently around and probably went to hide when they heard the scouts coming. Big Baller Armin decides the best way to find them is by looking inside the walls. Now again, you have to give this man his credit. He is doing what needs to get done. When one of the scouts finds out a portion of the wall is fake, they instantly get attacked by Reiner. I will say this is a very great play by them. On the other hand, it's also a good play for them to look for the wall because Levi was right there to attack. Levi gets a successful hit trying to kill Reiner as soon as possible. However, Reiner's weird ability to lift everything causes him to survive this and transform. And while the battle does start because Reiner has transformed, on the other side of the wall there's another character. If you remember before, when Armin found the cups, you assumed that Reiner was one of them. And of course, if you know Bertolt, he follows alongside Reiner. However, there were 3 cups, meaning that there was a third person there. And this formally introduces the next Titan shifter, who is the Beast Titan. At the same time the Beast Titan transforms, he's also able to transform others around him. On top of that, he seals up a hole in the wall, therefore they can't go through with the horses. It's a great way to stop the scouts from escaping when they have their horses on the other side. So here it starts right now, the big battle you've been waiting for. Now as we go through this fight, let's go ahead and analyze what we have in front of us. They have never seen a Titan that walks on all 4s before, meaning not only this Titan is not probably just special, but it also is carrying cargo. Another important thing is they are trying to stop escape from the scouts. By keeping the horses on the same side as the Beast Titan, you have to go towards him. On the other side of the wall, Reiner's doing his best to try to climb up and get Eren as soon as possible. Now of course they're not going to stand around, it's do or die. And speaking of die, we need to talk about this as well. We're shown through a cutscene back in Season 1 that the reason Marco died is because of Annie, Reiner, and Bertolt. During this time, Marco seemed to be very unaware of what's going on. However, he so happened to catch Bertolt and Reiner slipping while they were talking. Because of the bipolarness from Reiner, he didn't want to make any mistakes, so he decided to get rid of Marco. Now Bertolt was going to follow him no matter what, that's clear. But the other character that was working with them that wasn't too sure was Annie. Reiner did his best not only to convince Annie to betray Marco, but also right after shoved it off as if nothing ever happened. Now this plays into the fact that Reiner is bipolar because he doesn't seem to understand what he is doing. But what he did understand is he's going to catch this L. The scouts came ready for this fight, and this introduces the new tech, the Thunder Spears. The Thunder Spears are specifically made to pierce through tough armor such as the Armored Titan. And you see, while this fight was going to happen again, it was not going to be the same. We've been shown through multiple times that Reiner is not the strongest Titan shifter. So now having to go against Eren as well as other people that have Thunder Spears, I mean, he just got bodied, that's all it is to it. But on the other side, the Beast Titan is not going to let go. Knowing that Reiner is getting absolutely destroyed, he decides to throw a barrel towards that area. This barrel has Bertolt inside of it, and also we know Bertolt cannot wait to get to Reiner. Now just in case you forgot, Bertolt is the Colossal Titan, therefore he can explode. So the scouts know if Bertolt is within the area, they have to be cautious. And because of Bertolt's dangerous Titan, he's able to get there, help Reiner, and put him in a more favorable position. While everyone would love to give Bertolt the quickest and swiftest punch in the face, you can't. So Big Brain Armin decides the best way we can do it is try to talk him out of transforming. He did this before by by threatening Annie's torture, saying things such as he doesn't like hearing her screams at night. Now maybe this would be a little bit more convincing if it wasn't Armin playing the same card twice, and also if it wasn't Armin. But alas, Bertolt finally gets a little bit of testosterone and transforms. Now here is the climax, and there's two different big fights. Let's start off on the other side of the wall that has the Beast Titan and Erwin. On this side of the wall, the Beast Titan is having target practice. Erwin realizes that if they kill all the horses, there's no way they can escape. And plus, the younger generation of scouts are down there being slaughtered. So Erwin decides there's only one way to get around it. While he's throwing away his dream to find out the truth, he decides to go towards his death head on. The plan is Erwin will go towards the Beast Titan along with the rest of the scouts, doing anything you can to survive while getting close as possible. While it is a suicide mission, it is also a distraction. Meanwhile, he wants Levi to go around the Titans using them as trees. And as soon as he's able to get to the Beast Titan, you know what it is. I'll just go ahead and play it for you. I suggest you watch that yourself. You'll feel pretty satisfied after you see it. Nonetheless, the Beast Titan is saved because of the quadruped behind him. And on Levi's side, he dedicated his life to make sure that the Beast Titan will be killed. On the other side of the wall, we have our fight between our main heroes and Bertolt. Now we're shown pretty quickly that Bertolt's Titan is much stronger than all the other characters. The immense amount of heat that Bertolt gives off causes our characters not to get close to him. On top of that, Aaron's Titan is much smaller than Bertolt's. While the Beast Titans fight seemed pretty impossible, this one seems even worse. On the brighter side, they do have big brain Armin to help. And while he does take a huge risk, it is worth the gamble. Armin notices once Bertolt's Titan starts to emit steam, it is going through his own body. So if he uses his ODM gear and sticks towards Bertolt's teeth, then he won't fly away. The problem is he has to get close and take that hit. Armin is a true hero when it comes to sacrificing himself for the greater good. Once Armin's been burned to a crisp, Aaron's able to get out of his Titan and then attack Bertolt himself. So this is the sum of these two fights. Many characters have been killed or at least injured, and there are still some survivors on the antagonist side. When the main characters get together, Levi tries to get someone else's ODM gear because his is out of gas. But that's when he notices that Armin is almost gone. The good news is they did capture Bertolt, and if they use the syringe that Levi has, they can bring Armin back. However, that's when a new problem shows its ugly face. One of the younger scouts, Flock, shows up, and he actually found Erwin still alive. While Erwin has been battered up, he still has a chance to survive if he gets the syringe. So this is where the internal conflict comes from. Who's better to pick in this situation? Erwin is the current and strongest leader of the scouts, and he is the brain for a lot of their situations. But on the other hand, Armin is young and proved his point that he is strong as well. He also shows a lot of potential that other characters don't simply have. It's a really hard decision to make, especially if you don't have foresight. But after some back and forth, at the end of the day, they decided to choose Armin. Now it's great that Armin was the one they chose to save because it's Armin. However, this is the sad end for all the Erwin fans out there. Now to wrap this season up, we have 2 more episodes with very important information. So do your best to stay with me here. Now that our heroes have reclaimed Walmaria, they're able to go back to the cellar. When they get to the cellar, they realize that Aaron's key doesn't matter. However, you have Levi just get through the door. And here they search around looking for any information that Grisha may have left. After searching the cabinet with some fake bottoms, they notice a picture. Now when they pick this up, there's a couple of important things looking at this. The first being that this is for sure Grisha in the picture, who is Aaron's father. However, he's with a brand new woman and child that Aaron does not recall. Another importance is this is a picture and not a work of art. You may have noticed for the past 3 seasons that technology within Paradis Island is not as big. The advancements of technology are not quite there yet, meaning that photography is not yet invented. So at first they assume that this is a very well painted picture, but in fact this indicates that there's a world out there where they can take screenshots of time. And now we get a true flashback of information showing Grisha's life. Grisha and his sister Faye live across the seas in a place known as Marley. The thing is, Grisha and Faye are also known as slaves. These people are also known as Eldians since they can transform. Many of these Eldians wear an armband so you can tell who's who, but they're treated poorly. One day, Grisha and Faye decide to run past the gate so they can go see an airplane. Again, back within the walls of Paradis, we've never seen something like this. The technology they have in Marley is much grander. However, Eldians are not supposed to leave the gate without permission because you're considered a runaway slave. Because of this, both Grisha and Faye are punished dearly. Grisha gets his ass beat pretty swiftly, but on the other hand, one of the officers takes away Faye, and later on she's found dead. Faye was purposely killed by the officer whom did not want to tell the truth, and I'll say how she was killed was much more gruesome. When Grisha's parents find out about this, they can't do anything but have to accept it. The parents are also slaves, and if they try to go against authorities, they might as well be considered dead. Now, while Grisha's parents do their best to try to educate Grisha as to what's going on, it's more in the sense of listen to the slave owners compared to get your just dues. Grisha has to deal with the slavery everywhere he goes, no matter if he knows the truth or not. So eventually he decides to join a rebellion. People who want to see change and want their rights to be heard. At this time, Grisha also finds his wife, who is of royal blood. Now, even though this does feel like kind of a plot, this is a great chance for him to have a kid that is going to be chosen. Now again, the chosen piece I'm talking about shows up more in season 4, so we'll wait to explain it until then. But anyways, the kid named Zeke finds out what his parents are doing. While Zeke is still an Eldian because of his parents, he still chooses to turn them into the authorities. And after that, the rebellion is broken up and it's time to get rid of those people. And here we get a lot of answers we've been waiting for. We see many Marleyan officers that take these Eldians on top of a large cliff. And here they inject them with the serum we've talked about before and change them into Titans. We even see Grisha's wife turn into the smiling Titan that we've known from season 1. So that's the explanation we needed to see as to where these Titans are coming from. And because this is such a large wall, they can't go back up, so they have to walk towards Paradis Island. Now, right before Grisha is killed, the same officer that killed his sister has a conversation with him. Grisha does ask for a reason as to why they do the things they do, and he tells him that there's no rhyme or reason to it, however, it's just pure hate. That's unfortunately how the world works, where you just hate someone else because they're different. This almost brings some type of unity for other people because you can choose to hate the same type of people. And honestly, this is a pretty realistic conversation right here. But right before the officer changes Grisha into a mindless Titan, another officer jumps in. This is the same officer that beat Grisha years ago. We find out his codename is the Owl, and he is also the holder of the Attack Titan. This is also the same Titan that Eren Yeager currently has in the current timeline. So if you get what I'm trying to say, the Owl will eventually ask Grisha to continue on the story. But he also asks him to continue on the story while still finding a new life and way to live. This is why we now know that Grisha has 2 different wives and also 2 different sons that did not know about one another. Now all this information is pushed into Eren's mind pretty quickly. Once our heroes return back after reclaiming the wall, it's time for the award ceremony. And some characters here, such as Flock, tell the truth. It does seem as if Eren's group gets special treatment compared to others. And while there still are some survivors here, they don't get the same treatment that Eren's cohort will. I'll tell you right now that Flock has a very good point. But they continue on with the ceremony, and once you get your necklace, you can kiss the queen's hand. But if you remember before, Eren has a reaction once he touches someone with royal blood. So kissing Historia's hand here not only gives him the information we know from a backstory, but also a new perspective that we can't talk about yet. So moving towards our final part, the scouts travel to go see the sea. And of course, this view is what they wanted to see. A large body of glowing water at which you can't see the other side. Something that characters such as Armin has dreamed about forever. But while this should be an amazing achievement to reach this goal, Eren says something different. He responds back to Armin and Mikasa that if they go across the sea and kill their enemies, will they finally be free? But I don't know, we're stopping right here. That is the full recap for season 3 of Attack on Titan. This was a long one, but if you made it to the end of the video, I want to say thank you for watching. Next, we're going on to season 4, and we'll probably split that into 2 videos. But until then, let me know what you think of season 3 in the comments down below. And if you're wondering what to watch next, I gave a full overview summary of what I thought of Attack on Titan over here. Thank you all for watching. Until next time, take care.